lot for the future as Carmen's laid out. This is just, you're passing, authorizing the president to sign what the school district has already approved at their level that was negotiated in the deal point 2 months ago.
All right, how about Frank?
Maybe it's too early for this, but is there a project plan or a flow chart that you might be able to share? It seems like there's a lot of moving parts here. Is there any way to create a plan to where we can visually look at it and say, these are all the things that are going on?
When we determine the TIF is eligible to be created, I can work with S.B. Friedman and the developer to create that engineering kind of Venn diagram that lays out, this is when this happens. And we can lay that out for you. But your heavy lifting on the JRB and TIF dollars, discussion with other taxing bodies, I'm telling you, will occur in January, not before, other than the school district tonight.
Yeah, it just would help me visualize all the things that need to be happening.
Yes.
For all of it to fall in place. So.
From a project management calendar, I can kind of show you what the developer and the engineers are already starting to work on that.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, Tree?
And real quick, Carmen, this one's for you. So, what is the point of the mutual releases in this? What is that? Why is that there? What is the?
Essentially says that this is a negotiated agreement.
Okay.
And, all the parties are, they're not going to come back later and say that they
didn't like what we did, and we aren't going to go and say we didn't like what we did.
Right.
Just eliminates anyone coming back and causing problems. Is that typical, I'm guessing, in these kind of?
standard, right?
Okay. All right. Just wasn't sure about that. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote, or?
I'm ready.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Brooker?
Aye.
Trustee Burson? Aye. Trustee Hopkins-Burger?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Great, good discussion. All right, 6, action item C, motion to remove from the table for discussion purposes ordinance 25-26, adopting the Village of Canton Hills Comprehensive Plan for 2025. Okay, I'll accept a motion. Moved by Janet, second by Therese, and this would be for discussion. We moved our meeting, we'll have a special meeting on September 9th, is when everybody was available.
Well, we want to try to address why we have Jim here tonight. Some of the things that we can get general agreement, he can have ready for us on 9/9.
So any questions or comments for Jim or Jim? Okay.
I have 2 comments as well.
Sure.
Just as a parliamentary matter, this is on for action.
Right.
And so.
It was to remove it from the table of the action item.
Technically, you should just take a voice vote to remove it from the
So the action is just to
That's
remove
right.
it from the table.
Just removing it.
So there was a motion and a second. If you just take a voice vote to remove from the table, all in favor?
Aye.
So it's currently off the table, but I don't believe there was going to be action anticipated.
There's no ordinance to approve tonight for the council.
So you could technically you could treat it as a discussion.
All right, let me hear what Jim has to say. Jim?
There's still 2 corrections to make. One is an open space map needs to be updated yet. Very simple, there's a couple parcels missing. The second item is all of the demographic data and the Appendix A, which is the community data snapshot. Those are published by CMAP every August. The new one just came out about a week ago. So I'm working to update the demographic section, and then the new community snapshot will be inserted as Appendix A. We'll replace the one dated August 2024 with the brand new one.
And the census count is what estimated we've increased by 100 people.
Yeah, about 120, something like that. So the census count, it's the American Community Survey. It's done on a 5-year rolling basis. So the 2024 publication had the 5 years from 2018 through 2022, and now we have 2019 through 2023. The Census Bureau sends out a random sample to a certain number of people in each geography, and then they use kind of an aggregate of those 5 years, and they produce all these various statistics. So yeah, our population did increase. We're almost to the point where we were in the census back in 2020. Some of the other data changed as well. Nothing really significant, but that should be updated too. We have it. It's just a matter of getting it all done.
Yeah, and Jim, is there a way that we can try again with the Census Department? Because I know in the past I've done mid-year or mid-decade, just taking a capture of recent development that's been fulfilled, like 100 units or 1,000 units occupied in that interim, and they've allowed us to just do that neighborhood and not the entire municipality. For some reason, the census stopped doing that. Do you think it?
Well, I've only been involved in one of these, a recount. I know there's a cost with it, so you have to evaluate what you're going to pay to have it redone and what the potential is in a head count increase for you. If you're really confident that there's going to be a certain number of new heads counted, then that might offset the cost of doing it.
If we could only do...
It's been 15 years since I did this.
Yeah, if we could only do Norton Lake, that'd be a short kind of cost that we could run, and then we'd see the LGDF benefits of those 103 times 3.1 people, and you'd have a number the census charged you to do that one neighborhood. But my understanding is that I want you to check with CMAP friends to see if anybody's been successful with the Census Bureau to only do a specific quadrant of the village and not the entire village. Because it's not cost effective for us to do a recount of the whole village to try to capture 103 new units. So if they can find an example that the Census Bureau has told me no, I have to do the whole town, I need an example to go back at the Census Bureau contact.
All right.
Okay, any other comments from you, Jim?
No.
That's it?
So tonight, I think, Jim, we're looking to get the comments of the people that are here tonight on the board, and Jim can research anything in the recharge map and that other...
Right. And I did receive some comments from Trustee Person. I haven't done anything with those yet. I'm waiting for tonight's discussion and see. If
there's a consensus with your discussion items. Thanks, Jim.
You go ahead, Jim.
As I indicated in the suggestions that I made, the written suggestions, it's 2 pages that I did, I acknowledge the really fine work of the Planning and Zoning Commission and your work in particular. I really enjoyed the historical review, and I also really appreciated the structure of the visions, and then the strategic steps that you might take to bring those visions into reality. I thought that was really good. So overall, I liked it a lot. Where I struggled was that it was really great for the parts of the village that it covered, which was largely the same areas that are roughly within a half a mile of here, and now extending to the south. And really didn't, for me, it didn't address our frontiers. And
meaning the planning areas outside of the
well, even the planning areas within, up to our existing boundaries. I made a comment to another trustee earlier today who lives not far from here, that, if we're talking about any area north, east, or west of their home, it's not really addressed particularly in the plan, because the plan focuses on the Wasco area, and then because of recent activity has brought some focus into the Fox area. And so for me, when we're dealing with comprehensive planning over a 20-year time frame, I'm interested in where the change is going to happen. Because there's not going to be a major change right here within, a half a mile of where we sit. The change is going to be off to the south in the Fox, obviously. Change is going to be up on the northern edge of the village. Change is going to be on the west side of the village where Route 47 is. So, to me, it's where the change is going to happen, with or without us, whether we want it to or don't want it to. Change is going to happen in those areas, and so I would like to see us have more vision of what we would like to see in the face of that change. And once we have some visions, then I think we can follow your format that you've used so far and try and come up with, steps that might help us realize those visions. And to the extent that we're always here flying in the face of development, we know we're not going to win it all, right? I mean, we know that there's some farms are going to get turned into subdivisions, and some farms are going to the horror is going to get turned into, sold up warehouses or something. It's going to happen. But what we're trying to do, I think, is envision what does the future look like in which those things are going to happen, but you're trying to minimize it, and you're trying to find a way to make the pieces all fit together such that landowners can sell, developers can develop a little bit, and we can still have our long views, at least a fair amount of the time. And so I don't think we're going to do that if we don't come up with a vision for, in particular, the west and the north, where I think the action is going to be. And that action, to me, is going to be rather different from what we were facing in the Fox, because down there, just a year ago, they brought us a horrible-looking development, and Camden Hills and St. Charles and everybody else in the whole area said, oh my gosh, we don't want that. And we were able to, accomplish some positive change, right? But in areas where there's 100 acres for sale here and 200 acres for sale there, you're hardly going to know it. It's going to change a little bit at a time. It's not going to be announced in the paper. There isn't going to be events you can go to protest. So I would like to see in this plan some vision. It doesn't have to be my vision, but some vision for what those areas would look like, other than saying, oh, we'd like them to stay farms. Of course we would, but they won't. So that's kind of the meat of it for me.
And Jim, if you could, tell the board the debate that went on at the Planning and Zoning Committee where they didn't want to put labels of development because they figured that would just green light developers of the 50, 100, 200 acres to put a mark on it saying, well, the village in their comp plan said they would allow the conversion of the farm to X type of development, and they debated it and came to the consensus, well, we just all want it to stay farm, so we're not going to give any vision toward anything but farm and farm protection and open space as a means to try to support development. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I think Jen summarized it pretty well. I was feeling we're putting a target on these areas by saying we would consider some type of residential or other type of commercial industrial development there, or it would become almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And that's the debate they had internally, and that's why they devolved back.
They kind of stayed away from the north, northwest, west.
Okay, well, this is why we're going to hold a special meeting on September 9th, so save your comments for that special meeting.
Well, and Jim and I...
This motion was to remove from the table, and that'll be our vote.
What?
So we can have discussion next time.
Well, actually, we removed from the table so that we could have discussion tonight, otherwise we won't.
Well, then why we're having a special meeting, then to do more discussion. Go ahead, Mark, if you want to speak some more.
No, I just wanted, if anybody's got comments, like Janet neatly summarized very methodically areas that she's kind of given you a 2-minute overview, but it's probably an hour discussion. If I could share those with the rest of the board and anybody else that's got comments like that, we can distribute those so we can have a very productive 9/9 meeting. Janet's comments are to you all, but if anybody else got something like that, it'll help give us a roadmap for the discussion on 9/9 so we can possibly finish it and put a document together for a future vote.
I would suggest, we don't have to belabor this evening, but if there's some agreement to what Trustee Burson has said, then I could attempt to modify certain sections of the plan and have that come back, and then you can, rip it to shreds or agree with it or alter it or whatever.
Yeah, I just didn't want Jim Brown to do the work unless Janet's points have some backing of the board. That's kind of why we need to discuss it a little bit tonight.
Yeah.
I think Nick he was next.
I'll keep it brief, but yes, there's a consensus from me, from Janet's comments. One thought I had to kind of add to that, our idea of the conservation neighborhood, the 35% development, if that was carried over, because I think one thing we have to realize is our goal to maintain open spaces. The product of doing that is going to be some kind of development. But if there was proposed industrial areas or commercial spaces, we could carry over the same idea that we have with the conservation neighborhood. If industrial areas or developments had the same standards, 35% could be, impermeable parking lot and building, 75% had to be dedicated to open space. I think that could give us kind of a roadmap that could cover.
So you'd like us to staff up what a commercial conservation neighborhood would be defined in a little bit.
But if it is expanded to also apply to industrial and commercial.
Yeah, because now it's focused on residential anywhere, current and future areas.
Understanding it's not a developer popular.
It's not a developer popular notion at all, but it is going to be, it's in the comp plan for any development. The conservation neighborhood is going to be our new standard once we adopt, unless you remove it for all future. So how we apply that to a commercial, we didn't really consider. But that'd be a staff work. If that's what you want us to do, we'll try to have something ready for 9/9.
We just have it as a topic of conversation.
All right.
Those ratios may alter, but.
All right.
All right, I'm going to call a roll call.
I'll make one sentence.
1 sentence.
Okay, I was just going to say, I wouldn't draft a whole lot right now, because I think, I like what she said, I like what he said, but I think the conversation on the 9th will give you much better guidance. So I wouldn't draft a whole lot before that.
All right, yeah, I can come with just make bullet points or something
Yeah,
or something.
that's all I was going to say. Thanks.
If that's what you want. Okay.
Okay, I guess we don't need a motion. We're just going to, for discussion on September 9th.
And that's a
And bring
special,
all your ideas then, yeah.
and so the public knows that's a special meeting on 9/9 for the topic of the comp plan and B, the price of accepting a low qualified bidder on the roads from Thursday the 4th. There'll be the 2 items on that agenda.
Okay, we'll move on. Discussion items, A, Police Department speed trailer. Chief Levand.
I'll make this quick. We've discussed this numerous times, I think over the last couple of years. The last speed trailer the department had, I think it had its fate probably almost 3 years ago, and that was a very, very, very used speed trailer. That was what its functions was, speed, that was it. Speed trailers have evolved, so we desperately need a speed trailer. I've already explained the issues with the traffic crashes, the speeding, the limited amount of officers to be out there to patrol what we currently have, and possibly could expand a 100 square miles of roadway, 20 square miles of land, give or take, and then these possible discussions of what could come in the future. It's a great way to supplement it, so how it'll help me, this is not only a speed trailer, it's a message board, so it'll display messages. It has a camera on it. The camera is not for taking the pictures necessarily of the cars, it's to make sure no one tampers or messes with the speed trailers. This is downloaded into a computer, so how it would benefit us is if someone says there's speeding going on in my neighborhood, we can place the speed trailer there. It's for whatever period we determine, one day, a week, whatever it is, it documents all the vehicle's speeds. So then I can look at it and say, yep, there's a serious speeding problem going on here, here's the hours that it's happening, and we know we can direct our enforcement there. I can also say this, like, people are not always the best judge of speeding vehicles. So that would also help us on the other side of that. If someone says there's a continuing speeding problem, and then that goes up, and all of a sudden the speeding isn't that great, that also helps us be able to move our enforcement to other areas. So I bring this up to you because the 25-26 budget for the technology line item was budgeted at $40,000. That included all our technology items, body cameras, squad cameras, for the entire year. We were fortunate to get a $24,909 grant from ILEXP, the state, which covered our biggest expense in the technology line item, which is our body cams, our squad cams, and the storage. So we still have that money that is sitting in the technology line item. So in theory, if we purchase the speed trailer, I am not asking you for more money. It was already budgeted in that technology line item. We were just fortunate to receive a $25,000 or almost $25,000 grant. The speed trailer I'd like to purchase, and I'll double check to see if there's any lower prices right now, but with everything going on, I would guess the opposite, that prices will shortly continue to go up. But it's roughly about $18,000. That is the speed trailer, the message board, the camera, it's the warranty on it. So it is a great one to have. So that's the reason I bring it to your attention. I'm not asking you to spend more money, just asking you to allow me to spend the money that was already budgeted. And I'll take any questions if you have.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Nick, go ahead.
I was actually going to ask us two questions, and one was, how are we looking with the police department budget, and is there a buffer built in? But the second was, last year there was a grant from the Riverboat Casino, and I felt like that, I mean, we were successful with that grant. No, we were not?
So we had the Riverboat grant that we thought we were going to be, even though I thought it was a completely long shot, so we tried this many times over the years. That would have gone towards IT for the upgrades, because they would have to be specific. We applied for ComEd's grants that they give for like pretty much traffic enforcement, safety, and that was awarded, but that literally went the entire state that they service, went to 15 municipalities, and we weren't one of them. That would have been $10,000 that could have matched the speed trailer. But we didn't receive that this year. We weren't one of the 15 municipalities that received it. Everyone that got it was pretty much for speed trailers, speed signs. It just wasn't us.
And what cuts against this, trustees, is that your per capita median income here is not what the ComEd, Comcast like to fund, because our median income is so high, they don't consider us a candidate for their large charity. We're just not viewed as.
Okay, any other discussion on that item? Okay, we'll move.
Well, do we have a consensus to move this to action for a vote to approve a speed trailer next meeting on the 16th? Thank you.
Okay, 7B, proposed e-bike scooter regulations ordinance.
Carmen.
So in your packet tonight is it's a preliminary draft of an electric bicycle and scooter ordinance that we worked on alongside Chief Levan. The village is a non-home rule municipality, hence are a bit tied as to what kind of restrictions that you can put into place other than what's already in the Illinois Vehicle Code, which surprisingly enough, is fairly comprehensive. The state, as of last year, put into place some provisions that fairly heavily restrict or limit the locations for which these types of devices can be used, and provides a lot of definition as to the different classes of specifically electric bicycles. So this ordinance wholly adopts the provisions of the Illinois Vehicle Code. It doesn't really make many changes to it. No changes that are more restrictive than the Vehicle Code, because you can't do that. It just kind of provides a local framework so that the police department can track the usage of these devices, any complaints that stem from them, and if required, issue local citations rather than have anything that would come to local adjudication here, rather than have to rely on bringing something to circuit court, which is much more of a significant situation, especially for someone of a lower age. One particular thing to note that I know the chief was concerned about, that a lot of local police chiefs is a parental, essentially a parental supervision or a responsibility provision in the local village code, which is also referenced in state statute. So essentially, if a parent does allow a minor to utilize one of these devices and it's being done in a reckless manner or in contradiction to the village code, that the parent could therefore be held liable. At the end of the day, if a minor is issued a citation, they are required to bring a parent or guardian with them to the administrative adjudication, but that's a little bit more meat on the ordinance, may provide a little bit more parental supervision. A couple things that I would like to note that are not in the draft ordinance that, I think I stated it before, many communities are putting these into place. And even since we prepared this draft ordinance, we as a firm internally have kind of tweaked these things. There are going to be some corrections to this draft prior to it coming for approval, if that's what the village board would like to do. One is talking about the definition of a scooter that says that it's no more than 10 miles per hour, not 20, that's indicated in this draft. We would recommend that you put something in there, in the ordinance, that it's an explicit authorization clause. The state statute says that electric scooters are allowed in the state, but what we recommend is having an additional provision at the beginning of the ordinance, or under the scooter section, that says electric scooters are only allowed in the village as is permitted under this chapter or this section of the village code, so that when someone looks at the village code, they can say, oh, okay, I'm not relying on state statute because it was adopted. I'm looking specifically at this section. The e-bike usage, they're not allowed, they're prohibited on all sidewalks whatsoever. So the language that's in here is not as clear as it could be. So we're going to change that to say that they're prohibited on any sidewalk within the village. And that is in line with what state law already says.